Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to the NoDQ.com live recap of AEW Dynamite for September the 8th, 2021, the post all-out edition of AEW Dynamite. We had some first-time appearances on this show, so let's go ahead and get right down to the recap. We had some highlights shown from the all-out pay-per-view. We had the usual three-man announce team, but Excalibur was not there. He is getting married, so Taz stepped in to take that spot. Our opening match on Dynamite was Malachi Black versus Dustin Rhodes. Dustin looking for some payback after Malachi Black took out Cody, took out Lee Johnson. Dustin had a hot start. He took Black to the outside. He tried to put Black, I guess, through a table with a Canadian destroyer, but ended up being suplexed through the table by Black. Back in the ring, Dustin's leg was giving him problems. He kept fighting back, though. Black then went under the ring and grabbed Cody's boot, threw it at Dustin, and dared Dustin to use it. Dustin instead hit the Canadian destroyer. However, Black kicked out of that. Crowd was chanting, "You still got it." And then Dustin got sent into an exposed turnbuckle, and Black picked up the win with the Black Mass, or whatever it's called now. Dustin was bleeding from the mouth at the end of this, and later on, there was an announcement that on September 22nd in New York City, it will be Malachi Black one-on-one in a rematch against the returning Cody Rhodes. I'm a little surprised that Cody did not actually show up to confront Black and set up the match that way, just having the graphic on the screen. I thought it was a little anticlimactic. Match itself was fine, although I really don't think Dustin needed to be given an out for his loss by being sent into the exposed turnbuckle. I'd say Black should just beat him clean without anything happening, any kind of shenanigans. Matt Helms sent in a $1 super sticker with an upside down smiley face. Thank you for that, Matt. Walter says crazy that Dustin can still go like this. And Greg Mayer said this match went a little bit longer than needed. We had CM Punk come into the ring for a promo. He thanked Darby Allin, Sting, and the fans. He said getting back in the ring was like riding a violent bicycle. Crowd chanted, "You still got it." I guess every aging wrestler is going to be given the "You still got it" chance now. Punk hyped up the main event and gave a shout out to Brian Pillman's aunt, who was at ringside. He called her an angel, and then he said, "What's next?" He surveyed the people. He wants to know from the people who should be his next opponent. Couldn't really tell who the crowd was chanting for. I mean, I think there were all sorts of different people being named. But then Taz, who was on commentary, got on the mic, said he's tired of the bullshit love fest. He said to Punk to not ever mention any members of Team Taz. Punk was like, well, he didn't mention any of the Team Taz members. And Punk said since he respects Taz, he said, bring him on, send Hook, send Will Hobbs. And then Punk used Taz's line to beat him if they can, survive if he lets them. This was a fine segment. I like Taz on the mic here talking to CM Punk. Although I will say this, my fiance Caitlin was watching this, and I would classify her more as a casual AEW viewer, and her reaction to this was, and I quote, dumb. She also said that she wants to see CM Punk wrestling other guys, not these scrubs. Her word there, scrubs, to describe the members of Team Taz. And I kind of get it. I mean, CM Punk versus Ricky Starks might be a cool match, but It feels like a filler program for CM Punk right now, just for him to do something until they can put him in a big match. They're not going to do the big CM Punk matches. Most likely, they're not going to do it on Dynamite. Probably going to save his big matches for the pay-per-views. Nonetheless, good segment here. Anytime you got CM Punk and Taz going back and forth, you can't really go wrong with that. Caleb Jacobs says he agrees with Caitlyn, so there you go. We had Ruby Soho backstage for an interview saying that she doesn't want people to think she was lucky at the pay-per-view in the Casino Battle Royale, which is why she's going to fight Jamie Hayter in a one-on-one match. But she was interrupted by Dr. Britt Baker, the AEW Women's Champion. Britt called Ruby the flavor of the week. And Ruby responded by saying that she helped Britt get into wrestling. But Britt continued to mock her and said that Ruby should run away to catering, where she spent the last 4 years of her career. Ouch. That was brutal. And unfortunately, Ruby did not really have a response to that. She just got angry. So, yeah, that was quite the savage line there from Britt Baker. Not sure how I felt about it, though, because, heels are supposed to lie, and, well, that line was kind of true. Maybe a little bit too close to reality. So, yeah, I would have at least had a good last line from Ruby to get Britt angry and not the other way around, but that's just me. So we had Will Powerhouse Hobbs against Dante Martin, and pretty typical big man, little man match. Dante was flying around. At one point, Hook got on the apron and Dante flew over Hook onto Hobbs, who was on the outside of the ring. But then Hobbs picked up the win with I thought it was a spine buster, but Jim Ross and Tony Schiavone called it a power bomb. But I'm almost 100% certain it was a spine buster. Anyways, other than the commentary screw-ups, this was fine. Hobbs being built up, probably going to face CM Punk at some point. I'm guessing CM Punk's going to go through Team Taz, and that's CM Punk's program for now. We had a Dan Lambert promo in the stands, and I know Virtue loves the guy, but I'm kind of getting bored with it already. Like, do something already. He's just standing there saying the same things, insulting the AEW fans, and I don't know. It's not really working for me at this point. I saw him in Impact, and I was not blown away then. And that first promo he did, I'm like, all right, this is kind of interesting, but I'm getting bored with it. Sorry, Virtue. I know you like him and you're a mark for him, but I'm not really very intrigued in it. And I'm not sure if having Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky with him, it feels like those guys really got nothing else going on, so they're just paired up with Dan Lambert. But yeah, so far it's not clicking with me. Next up, we had MJF come to the ring for a promo and talked about how he beat Chris Jericho 3 times and beat him a 4th time at All Out. And the match was just restarted because of extreme bias against him. Then he started insulting Cincinnati, saying it's the biggest dumpster fire in the world. And then he challenged somebody to jump the guardrail, threatened Bryan Pillman's daughter, who was out there, insulted her looks, and that's when Pillman Jr. showed up in his hometown of Cincinnati, got a big pop, was wearing the Cincinnati jersey, and he started praising the city, said it breeds badasses like his dad and John Moxley. MJF responded by insulting his mother, calling her Methany. And then Wardlow protected MJF, and MJF continued to throw out insults, saying that Pillman Jr.'s mom forgot to swallow with him. And then MJF had Wardlow step aside, and said that he's going to do to Pillman Jr. what Pillman Jr.'s mom should have done all those years ago and abort. That's when Pillman Jr. had enough, jumped him. Griff Garrison tried to make the save after Wardlow started to attack Pillman Jr. And then MJF hit Griff with the Dynamite Diamond Ring. Crowd chanted, "You tapped out." I thought this was maybe the best segment of the night. This was a great segment. MJF did really well. Cool to see Pillman Jr. getting some of the spotlight now and getting a program. I still want to see MJF versus CM Punk. That's the one I'm really waiting for, but I am happy to see Pillman Jr. getting this opportunity and a good city to do it in, too. Israel Diaz says, great segment. Hamp says this segment was the best. Matt Helms with a $5 super chat. Thank you, Matt. Says, do you think Chris Jericho will go into the Hall of Fame next year? As long as he's with AEW, no. Although Ric Flair did go into the WWE Hall of Fame when he was still with TNA. So it's not out of the realm of possibility, but I would say it's unlikely. I think that Jericho will go in once he's completely done with AEW, whenever that is. All right, next up we had Ruby Soho versus Jamie Hayter. Good reaction for Ruby, although match was not great in my opinion. They did one sequence where Ruby hit this flatliner, but it looked really awkward. Ruby did pick up the win with the Riot Kick, and then you had this big post-match angle where Britt and Rebel both attacked her. Riho made the save, but she got overwhelmed, and then Britt attempted to hit the curb stomp onto Ruby on the title, but then Chris Statler ran down with a chair. Looks like we're going to get a 6-woman tag team match at some point. We had a 6-man tag team match. FTR and Shawn Spears against the Dark Order. And the storyline in this match, continuing the storyline that the Dark Order is not really getting along. At one point, Silver bonked heads with Evil Uno by mistake. And then Spears pinned Silver with the DVD. After the match was over, Uno got in Silver's face. Silver shoved him, and then a fight broke out amongst the members. Anna Jay and Ty Conti came down to the stage, and they were very upset about everything that was going on. So at least we had some progression with this storyline with the Dark Order. Maybe at some point somebody comes in to get the group back together, or maybe they're going to be done. I guess we'll wait. We'll have to wait and see what happens. Hemp Connell with a $2 super chat says, I'm excited for MJF versus all of the ex-WWE guys. Well, in all seriousness, I really want to see CM Punk versus MJF. Just because of the promos alone, I'm sure will be really good. We had Tully Blanchard with a backstage promo. He talked about Sting and Darby Allin, said that he wants Tony Khan to book a match between Shawn Spears and Darby Allin for next week. Very interesting here. I get this feeling we're going to see Ric Flair at some point. Call it a hunch, but yeah, to me, referencing Sting and their history, I feel like Ric Flair is going to somehow get involved in all this. We'll wait and see what happens with that. And then we had Sammy Guevara during the commercial break. Not a Blake. I don't know what a Blake is, but I do know what a commercial break is, and that's when you have the commercials, and sometimes they do picture-in-picture, and they showed Sammy Guevara with his signs. And then we had Pillman Jr. backstage challenging MJF on September 22nd, that big New York show, and the Acclaimed showed up. Max Caster challenged Pillman Jr. to a match on Rampage, and I'm guessing Pillman will pick up a win there to build up him for the match with MJF. Then we had Tony Schiavone introducing the Elite minus Adam Cole, just the regular Elite guys, and they were all wearing these obnoxious outfits. And Nick Jackson even had a nose ring, so they're just going completely over the top with the costumes, I guess, to get the heel heat. Callis quickly took over on the mic, mentioned the PWI 500 on how Kenny Omega ranked number 1. Of course, that list came out today, and it got a lot of people talking. Kenny Omega, number 1. Roman Reigns, number 2. I don't agree with that in kayfabe terms, for sure. But, hey, it's PWI, and get some headlines. You put Kenny Omega number 1, you're gonna upset some people. Anyways, they talked about the tag team titles being stolen. And then Nick Jackson said they got their best friend back. And he introduced Adam Cole, baby. I like his music. AEW music, to me, is hit and miss. But I really like this song. It sounds very Rage Against the Machine-like. Way better than that last NXT song that Cole had. I will say that. Don't know if I like it better than the Undisputed Era music, but this was pretty good. This was a pretty good entrance music song for Adam Cole. And he did his whole routine. I'll say this. Cole didn't come out there dressed like a clown. And I know what they're going for with the costumes. They're trying to get the heel heat. But Adam Cole looked like a way bigger star than everybody else in the ring because he actually didn't look like a goofball. So Cole got on the mic and said AEW is the best because of the guys in the ring. Said he's been elite for a long time, 14 years. And he said now the Elite is complete with him. He's going to make his debut match next week against Frankie Kazarian. And then Omega got on the mic and said he despises interruptions, which of course led to Bryan Danielson making his entrance. I guess his song is okay with the rap part of it, but I would have preferred Final Countdown. However, they were not able to secure the rights. I guess it was too expensive. And I'm sure I'll get used to this one. But yeah, I was hoping for the Final Countdown. Anyways, Bryan came into the ring. Omega invited him in the ring. And Bryan grabbed the mic, asked the fans if they wanted to see that match between him and Omega. Crowd did the yes chants. And Bryan said he thinks Omega is afraid of him. The two of them quickly got physical. Bryan got the yes lock on, or the bell lock, whatever they're going to call it now. And Omega tapped out, but all of the Elite jumped in and attacked Bryan. That's when Christian, Frankie Kazarian, and the Jurassic Express all made the save. And Brandon Cutler got taken out with the running knee. Anyone think we're getting another Blood and Guts match pretty soon? Because that first one was in front of that, 1,000 people crowd at Daly's place. And you would think that they would want to do one with a much bigger crowd. I sense we're going to get it at some point. 5-on-5 Blood and Guts match. One of these weeks, probably in a couple months, but I could see that happening fairly soon. Oh, and I forgot to mention that Adam Cole warned Tony Schiavone to never look at Britt Baker the wrong way. Michael Wayne says Bryan Danielson's Final Countdown would fit AEW more than his new generic theme. Walter Cruz sent in a $5 super chat, says if they sign Wyatt, AEW should stop signing all the WWE free agents, build who they have, and move forward. The honeymoon phase will get over eventually. Sorry, Walter, I did not see your other comment about saving it for the end, but I don't know what to tell you on that one. I think that if WWE lets go of somebody that's got some value, Tony Khan's going to try to sign the guy. I just think that will happen. Now, at one point, is enough? I mean, they might have to cut some people at some point. It's hard to say what's going to happen in that regard. But yeah, you would think at some point they either got to stop signing people or they got to cut some people. We had our main event of the evening, which was Minoru Suzuki versus Jon Moxley. And it was good. It was a good match. I don't know anything about Suzuki, so, I don't really have that emotional investment. Basically, it was them trading moves with each other, whether it was blows or kicks or biting each other or headbutting each other. They knocked each other down with headbutts at one point. Suzuki's eye got busted open, so eventually Moxley got the upper hand and picked up the victory with the paradigm shift and then left through the crowd, Cincinnati, his hometown, big celebration. So it was fine. I would have liked some kind of post-match angle or some kind of cliffhanger at the end. I almost would have preferred if the final segment was everything with Cole and Bryan rather than Moxley's match, just because, I like a cliffhanger at the end, something big happening and getting people talking about what's going to happen next. Here it was just Moxley won a match, and that was that. Matt Helms with a $5 super chat says, do you think Bryan's wife will be coming to AEW? Brie Bella? No. Don't think so. Highly unlikely in all likelihood. Overall, Dynamite was a good show. Solid B. As solid of a B as you can get. Good show from start to finish. I enjoyed it. Wasn't the best thing I ever saw, but it was good. It was a very good show. But yeah, solid B. Hamp Kana with a $2 super chat. And I'll get to this in just a second here. Let me see what you guys thought in the chat room. I'm seeing a bunch of B's here. MVP Kev, Michael Wayne. Daniel gives it an A-. And in the chat room, 53% give it an A in the poll. 31% B, 13% C, 4% D. So I was a little bit lower on the scale than what you guys went with. But I still thought it was a good show. Maybe just because my expectations were super high for the Paul Stall show. Calvin Bowman and Hamp Connell also gave it an A. And CC Drink and Jorge gave it a B. DJW with a $5 super chat, thank you for that, says, what's up, Aaron? With all the talent in AEW now needing quality TV time, how much longer do you think it'll be before Rampage becomes 2 hours? Good question. I would not rule it out of the realm of possibility. I think that if TNT is cool with it, they'll do it. But it's tough because of the time slot. Like, I don't think they're going to go into SmackDown's hour. Perhaps they go earlier or maybe a different night. But yeah, I just don't see them doing 2 hours in that time slot. But it could happen at some point. Let's see here. Johnny Boy sent in a $2 super chat. Says, get well, Triple H. Absolutely. Best wishes to Paul Levesque, a.k.a. Triple H, who had a procedure done last week. Some kind of cardiac event, according to WWE. So we're wishing the best to him. Apparently he's going to make a full recovery, which is a good thing. Scary stuff, I will say, but glad to hear that he's on the mend. And to answer Hamp Connell's super chat about Kevin Owens, that's a pretty big news story right now. So Kevin Owens, his WWE contract is reportedly up in the beginning of 2022, when Owens had said several years ago, 2018, that he had a 5-year deal, which, you do the math, that would have him under contract until 2023. Will he go to AEW? I could see it happening, but man, Owens seems like he's been a WWE guy. Like, he's been doing a lot of stuff with WWE, and it's funny, I see people saying that his run has not been great. I would disagree. Owens has had a great WWE run. He had some awesome matches with Roman Reigns, and he's almost always been in a prominent position. Even when he was in there with Shane, Owens always was in a significant storyline, pretty much for his entire WWE career. So I could see it going either way. I would not rule out him going to AEW. It definitely could happen, but I also would not be surprised if he stays with WWE. I'm sure we'll talk more about that on the No DQ review coming up, which will be back this week. Looking forward to that. We'll be talking about the fallout from All Out. Johnny Boy says Owens is trolling to get more money. I mean, could be the case, you know. Why not? If you're Kevin Owens and your contract's coming up, you might as well play both sides and put out the little teases on social media like what he's been doing. But we'll see. If Owens goes to AEW, you have to wonder, does WWE really care what AEW is doing? Like, if they do whatever it takes to keep him, then you know that, maybe they're a little bit worried. So yeah, I'm very curious to see what the number is going to be for Dynamite this week, coming off All Out, seeing what kind of a difference Bryan Danielson and Adam Cole made to the numbers with AEW. What do you guys think? I mean, I could see them doing 1.2 to 1.3 million. I'm not going to go with some really high number. If they do a big number, if they even come close to their record, I think that's going to be a huge cause for celebration. But I'm going to be a little bit more conservative and say they do around a 1.2 to 1.3 million number this week. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. So thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest news coming off of All Out. We got the No DQ review coming up. We got SmackDown coming up. Subscribe if you haven't already, and tell a friend. Spread the word about this channel. Take care, everybody, and I will see you all next